Perfect. All right, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. What did your parents do when they caught you coloring on the walls or hitting your sibling? What happened if you came home and missed curfew? Someday, most of us will have children of our own and will need to know how to discipline in these types of situations. So today, I'm going to talk to you about, tell you what child discipline is and how to make child discipline effective and why child discipline is important. To begin, I'm going to tell you what child discipline is. Child discipline is setting the way for children, and to obey rules. Carrie Daggett-Hoff said in an article that discipline isn't about hurting someone, it's about giving guidance. It's important for children, and we need to guide them with the rules that we have set for them. Now that I've kind of shared with you what child discipline is, I'm going to tell you how to make it effective. Dr. Anthony Komaroff, he used timeout for an example. In paraphrasing, he said, for timeout to be effective, as a parent, we must follow through. Most parents will threaten that they're going to put them in timeout or give them a spanking for doing something wrong, but they never follow through. So the child just gets away with everything that they're doing. And he also said to make sure whatever your discipline is boring. If you're putting them in timeout and they get to watch TV while they're sitting in timeout, it's not going to be very effective for the child. They're going to think it's pretty fun and pretty okay to sit in timeout. And then since discipline is like a way of showing guidance and stuff, he also mentioned that positive reinforcement is a good thing. So praising your child for doing positive behavior is important. And another point is, you need to make sure your discipline is age appropriate. For a 2-year-old, they can't sit in timeout for more than 2 minutes, or it's not going to be very effective. So he mentioned their age, they grow in age to lengthen the time that they're in trouble or like being disciplined. And then also, finally, let's talk about why it's important to discipline children. Discipline should be teaching young children the difference between, or teaching them self-control and the difference between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. And discipline helps children prepare for adulthood by helps them manage their anxiety. Children don't like to be in charge. They want, so they'll sit there and push, trying to show that they want to be in charge, but in reality, they don't want to. So then they get anxious about it, that they're being able to be in charge. So if you discipline the child, it, helps with their anxiety levels. Also, it can help with their emotions, how to control their emotions to be sad or happy in different situations. And it also helps with teaching good decision making and teaches them good safety skills. Like Amy Morin, she gave an example of a child crossing the street with his bicycle and while a car was about to come by, and the mother, she took the bike away from him, and so that helped the child learn that riding on the street with a car coming by isn't safe. To conclude, child discipline is showing guidance to a child to obey rules. For child discipline to be effective, we must follow through with it and make sure it's boring. And child discipline is important because it teaches self-control, and it also prepares children for adulthood. I hope that some of the things that I have shared with you will give you a better understanding of child discipline and that it will help you in the future.
Good job. All right, moving right along. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
All right. So we all have things we do when we're trying to pass the time. Some of it's texting, tweeting, or working. But when it's football season, a lot of us like to watch football and pass the time that way. Some people like me played football in high school, and they never really lost the love of the game, so we watched the NFL. And a lot of other people do too. There are 32 professional sports teams in the NFL, and a lot of people dedicate a lot of time and effort to supporting those teams. And because of that, we invest a lot of money, we play football games, and the overall popularity of football makes America's new pastime football. First and foremost, probably the most important to everybody is money. According to Forbes magazine, an article written by Ozarian, the NFL makes more money than any other sport that there is, with an average of about $1 billion per team. And all that money comes from us fans. We buy regular season tickets from anywhere from $150 to thousands of dollars for good seats. And I had a friend in high school who actually went to the Super Bowl 49 and 50 to watch the Broncos play. And him and his dad spent $17,000 between the two tickets. Also, the merchandise that the NFL sells at Dick's Sporting Goods or anywhere else is about $100. And the NFL gets a percentage of that, as well as the sporting goods store. But the merchandise that you buy at the stadium is almost 100% profit for the stadium because the actual NFL team owns that stadium. Second to money, I think the extra games that are available that we play that come with football creates an emotional tie to the game and a competitiveness towards each other. Fantasy football and football pools are very worldwide and common and very popular. In the past, couple of years, I've had up to 6 fantasy football teams at one time. What fantasy football is you have a league of coworkers or family or friends, and you choose players, and then the players get a certain amount of points for the performance for that week. And obviously the person with the most amount of points wins. This kind of brings people together. Like, you get different conversations going when you're actually meeting with them, and there's some smack talk and having fun, and it's all around a good time. And according to a New York Post article, over 75 million people are projected to play fantasy football next year. And with that, there's also wagers, and they're projecting up to $46 billion in wagers, which can buy you 350 private islands. And then the other game you can play is called a football pool, and you have the week's games, and you pick which team you think is going to win. And if you pick the majority amount of team that win, you probably win money. And the NFL actually does a pool like this at the end of the season, and you win tickets to the Super Bowl. In my opinion, the most insignificant part of America's pastime being football is just the overall popularity of it, just because it doesn't have an emotional or money tie. According to ESPN, 49% of people are professional football fans, which is the majority of the population. It only leaves 51% for the rest of the sports. And an article by USA Today, 13 million people watch Monday Night Football, and that's the least amount of views that they get in a football week. And the most is on the Sunday afternoons. About 27 million people watch. It's probably like after church and stuff like that. So in conclusion, football is an emotional sport for both the players and the fans. Everybody wants to cheer on their own team. And therefore, based on money, the games are played, and the overall popularity, football is America's new pastime.
Good job. I am so happy that fantasy football is almost over. Like, I know you're not, but I am so tired of hearing about it from everybody. Mainly because I don't understand, so that's probably why. Okay. All right. Next up, Taylor or Kyle?
I can go.
Okay.
Okay. So have you guys ever wondered what the fastest growing cities in the U.S. are? Most of us would probably think some East Coast city or city in California. Actually, the top 5 fastest growing cities right now over the past year were Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, and New York City. So there's only one East Coast city out of those 5. This list reflects the growth of America in the South and the Southwest. Much of the reason for the growth of America can actually be contributed to this region. I researched the following 3 cities: Atlanta, Houston, and Phoenix. Let's first take a look at Atlanta. Atlanta is the fastest growing city in the South. The post-recession growth in Atlanta is nearly as high as it was before the recession, and one of the contributors to this revival is the movie industry. Such films as Taken 3 and the Hunger Games sequel were actually filmed in the city of Atlanta. Atlanta has a strong and growing economy because of such a revival of the movie industry. With a strong economy, enticing jobs are around to keep people, to attract new people and to keep current residents around. Atlanta also has a favorable climate. Most people want to get away from the cold and go to the warm, such as Atlanta. Atlanta also has a diverse cultural background with many different races and ethnicities. Now let's examine Houston, Texas. The Houston area added more people last year than any other metropolitan area in the country, continuing its exceptional growth of the last decade and a half, Creel 2016, paragraph 1. According to Creel, the reason people keep flocking here: jobs, lots of them, and a cheap cost of living. The cost of living in Houston is very attractive to new residents. The oil industry in Houston also has attracted many new residents. While prices have gone down in the last few years, the potential of jobs coming back have kept residents around, and the potential for jobs in the future keep residents moving into the area. The warm weather in Houston also is favorable. With temperatures high and winds low, such temperatures allow residents to stay there all year round, even with such natural disasters happening all the time, such as hurricanes and floods. Finally, let's take a look at the Phoenix, Arizona region. Phoenix was the farthest west city in the group of 5 listed. One reason for the growth is that it's the capital of Arizona. The capital of the state has added advantages over other cities. Government jobs and extra attractions bring people to the capital. And the weather in Phoenix is very favorable again. The conditions are warm all year round and sunny. The economy in Houston is also rapidly growing. According to Growth Nation, the manufacturing base is diverse, but particularly strong in aerospace and electronics. With aerospace and electronics industries attracting new residents, the growth of Phoenix definitely has an upward trend. Let's review the 3 fastest growing cities in America. Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona are 3 of the top 5 fastest growing cities in America. Surprisingly, these cities are not on the West Coast or the East Coast, where we generally associate large cities. These cities are in the South and Southwest regions of the country. Have you noticed some similarities between the 3 cities discussed? All 3 have rapidly expanding economies to attract new residents and plenty of jobs to keep current residents happy. Also, Atlanta, Houston, Phoenix are in warm climate zones with little to no snowfall each year. These areas are quite a bit different than the weather we're experiencing right now in Wyoming, where we're going to need hats and gloves.
Good job. So for speech 1, I was in the Florida Keys for like our intro speech 1, and people kept asking where we were from, or we'd like show our IDs, and they were like, "We've never seen a Wyoming ID." They were like, how cold is it there right now? And that week it was like -20. And there was people from other parts of the country where they thought it was cold, and I was like, no. And then you had wind chill on top of that, people.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least.
Okay. Bullying is the use of superior strength or influence to intimidate someone, typically to force them to do what he wants. This is becoming a problem that is seen in every elementary, middle, and high school around the United States and across the world. The United States, we are seeing bullying ranging from spreading rumors and physical assault. According to the SPCC, around 30% of our nation's children have admitted to bullying someone else on school surveys. In this speech, I will discuss how often bullying takes place, the different types of bullying, and how schools are hoping to prevent bullying. Now let's talk about some statistics regarding the frequency of bullying. Statistics show that bullying has become a large problem in today's world. According to the American Academy of Child Adolescent Psychiatry, close to half of the children will experience bullying in primary and secondary school. Bullying often changes the way people look at themselves, causing harmful self-image and social emotional stress. The SPCC stated that 70% of students say that they have seen bullying in their schools. It also states that 60% of staff witnessed bullying 2 or more times in the last month, and 41% have seen bullying occur once or more in a week. This shows that bullying happens on a large scale throughout our nation's schools, and this is shown by surveys taken by adolescents and staff. Let's take a moment to talk about different types of bullying. We are seeing many types of bullying these days. As I said earlier, it can range from teasing to physical and mental abuse. Researchers and statistics show that boys often use the intimidation tactic, where girls are more likely to use verbal and physical abuse. According to the PACER, the National Bullying Center for Bullying, among 15% of high school students and 24% of middle school students were cyberbullied. These percentages of individuals who have experienced cyberbullying at some point in their life have nearly doubled in the past 10 years. Bullying can range from simple acts of teasing. In today's technological world, we are seeing an increase in bullying, better known as cyberbullying, better known as bullying that takes place behind phone screens. Now that we know how often bullying is happening and different types of bullying, let's take a look at how schools are trying to prevent bullying. When it comes to bullying, prevention is a topic of apprehension. As stated in the article, Bullying Academy, every school needs an anti-bullying website for students, educators, and parents. The world needs to realize what is going on and stop bullying in schools. At the school that I recently student taught in Casper, Wyoming, they had a website like this come about whenever I started student teaching. This website showed students, teachers, and parents what bullying was and how they could stop it. They also had a counselor come in and talk to the different grade levels of students and tell them what bullying was and how they could stop it. They answered any questions that students, parents, and staff had about bullying. And as they did this, we saw a huge decrease in bullying. Bullying Academy article also states that prevention focuses on strengthening students' connectedness to school, an important element for increasing academic motivation and achievement, and for reducing violence and delinquency. Now, to conclude on the topic of bullying, let's look back at my main points. Overall, bullying is a very socially unacceptable behavior. With school districts all around the world stepping in and realizing that bullying is harmful, the ways to prevent bullying are at an all-time high. Bullying is a very serious problem that can lead to harmful effects on people. It is very important that bullying is controlled and eliminated while it is still possible to do so. It is important that as a society, we are aware of the frequency of bullying, the different types of bullying, and the ways of prevention. Thank you.
All right. How we feel? Getting more comfy online? Not as weird anymore? It seriously is like gym online. I don't really get it yet, and I teach it, but that's okay.